Hi, today we're going to talk about character. Tomorrow in class, we're going to read our first story in the narrative unit called Fish Cheeks. It's a really cute story. It is a short story, but what we're going to be doing is looking at the character in the story. And you're going to be annotating on the handout the story's on. All annotating means is you're going to take notes, specifically notes on character. So let's take a look at this PowerPoint. If you have to take notes, go ahead and do it in your binder in the notes section. I don't know how much of this is new information to you or how much of it is just review of things you've already learned. But we're going to take a look at character. So first of all, character development, showing the multitude of traits and behaviors that give the literary character the complexity of a human being. How many traits does the character have? Does the character have many sides to them, to the point where they seem very real to you and you can relate to them? Or does the character only have one side and not very realistic? They're just added into the story for that one side of their character, one side of their personality. The amount of character development affects the quality of the story. So let's take a look at it. If the character is a flat character, that means they're not fully developed and they only have one side to their character that we see. So maybe we only see the bully of that character throughout the whole story. Or we only see the sweetness of that character throughout the whole story. Or we only see the childishness or whatever it is, but it's only one side of the character that we see. If we see many sides to the character to the point where they're fully developed, then they're a round character. They have lots of traits, good and bad traits, and they're very realistic to us, and many times we can relate to them because they're not perfect, and we see many sides to them. That's a round character. There are also sometimes changes in characters, not always, but sometimes we see characters go through changes just like we do as human beings. If a character does not go through a change, if they're always the same, they're always the bully, or they're always the crybaby, or they're always the sweet, helpful, good person that never makes a poor choice, that character is then static. They're a static character and they never alter. They never change. If a character does change, however, then they're dynamic. If a character experiences things throughout the story that causes them to change, go from being very evil, very mean, very vindictive, to being sympathetic or empathetic and sweet and kind and considerate, then that character is dynamic. The events that happened to them changed them. Here are the different characterization types. We have direct characters, where the author simply tells us what the character looks like, what the character acts like, how the character feels. When we know things about the character because the author simply tells us, then that's direct characterization. When we find out things because the author reveals information, doesn't directly tell us, but reveals it through the character's thoughts, what the character says, how the character acts, or even how other characters respond to that character, then that's indirect characterization. It's shown to us indirectly, not by the author just simply telling us this is what the character is like. We figure it out on our own, so it's indirect. So look at this example. Ed Johnson scratched his head in confusion as the sales rep explained Drowco's newest engine performance diagnostic computer. The old mechanic hated modern electronics, preferring the old days when all he needed was a stack of manuals and a good set of tools. Is that direct or is that indirect? Is the author telling us about Ed Johnson, or are we figuring it out based on Ed's thoughts or his actions or his words? Here's another example. Julie held up 6 different outfits in front of the mirror and pondered which would go best with her navy blue shoes, her pastel eyeshadow, and the diamond earrings she'd already procured from her overflowing vanity. After 90 minutes of mixing and matching and cell-phoning her sister 3 times for advice, Julie finally made up her mind. She'd give the navy blue skirt and white sweater a try, hoping Trent would love it. Is that direct? Or do we know about Julie indirectly, based on her actions and what she's thinking and feeling? I will let you know that if you did guess that the first example was an example of direct characterization, And this example is a direct or indirect. It's an example of indirect characterization. So that's a little bit about characterization. And tomorrow when we read Fish Cheeks, I had to think for a second of the name of the story, you will be asked to take notes, annotate on the story, as to what things you notice about the character in that story, the main character. Is the main character going through a change, or is the main character staying static? Is the main character a round character with many sides to her, or is she just pretty much a flat character? And how do we know about the character? Is the author directly telling us, or are we figuring it out through her actions and her words or how other people respond to her? And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice evening.